lift our voices with confidence and fill this room with the worship of God. You called us out of the dead. Chain will break, as broken hearts declare his praise. Who can stop the Lord Almighty? 'Cause our God is the Lion of Judah. He is roaring with power and fighting our battles. Every knee will bow before him. Our God is the Lamb that was slain. Bow before the Lion and the Lamb. Every knee will bow before him. The God who comes to save is here to set the captives free. For who can stop the Lord Almighty? He is roaring with power. Every knee will bow before
This Bingeworthy series that we're in is designed to remind us of exactly how powerful God is.
The one who opened up the ocean, I'm for with you all things are possible. Oh God, my God, I need you. Oh God, I need you now.
You heard your children then, you hear your children now. You are the same God, you are the same God. You answered prayers back then, and you will answer now. You are the same God, you were providing then. You are You are a savior then, you are a savior now. You are the Jew,
Oh God, my God, I need you now. How I need you now. Oh rock, oh God, my God, We may not be physically facing Goliath, but God, we have challenges. So God, we gather in community to unify and declare your goodness. God, speak to us. Show us the stones. And God, as a church, I'm struck by that Vision 22. We come to know you through the faithfulness of the people that call this church home. We love you, Lord, and we thank you for giving us purpose to get out of bed, a mission to put our feet on the ground and to walk boldly in your truth and in your faithfulness. It's the name of Jesus that we pray.
That's good. If I have not had the chance to meet you yet, my name's Brad, lead pastor. Come out to the welcome table in the lobby. We'd love the chance to meet you. Bring that card out back. We have a gift for you. That's out there. Or you can put it in the giving boxes that's in the giving, these giving stations right on your way out of the auditorium. We're here in the middle of a binge-worthy series. So here just for the candy. So we're maybe the suspense, the cliffhanger at the end, especially, as we start to watch the next show and then the next show, and then it's 3 a.m. and we should be going to bed, but we're binge watching. We'd all agree on what makes a binge-worthy show. But the question we're asking in this series, over these 8 weeks, is what makes a binge-worthy life? What makes a binge-worthy life? And here's my goal. My goal in these 8 weeks is to help you move beyond an ordinary life, beyond what's mundane, by aligning your life with the way of Jesus. There is a way to experience a full, meaningful, purposeful life. But it only happens when we align our life with the way of Jesus, and that's what we're hoping to do in this series. Last week, week 1, we looked at a vision that the prophet Ezekiel has, and we learned a binge-worthy question and also a binge-worthy command. And the question is, can these bones live? And it's a question that God, can these bones that you're seeing covering this valley, can they live? And then God follows it up with a command, and he commands Ezekiel to preach to the dry bones, to prophesy to the dry bones, and then the bones are raised to life. And Ezekiel's obedient because he prophesies, and we get the same question from God in every area of our life where we might feel and raise dry bones to life. But then also he gives us a command, and it's to join him. And all of us have an opportunity to bring good news to our city. One of the ways that we get to do that as a church, obviously throughout the day in our lives, wherever we live, we get to do it. As a church, we do a few events a year that we consider to be a gift to our community. Free events that are an opportunity for us to connect with people, to invite friends. And the next one coming up is coming up here in October. It's our Fall Fest, October 15th. Nick talked about this last week. Here's a way you can help us be good news to our city. You can volunteer. There's a QR code right here. If you actually grab a volunteer, way for you to say, family, sometimes these are for little kids. I think there's even archery there, and I'll probably have fun. I might shoot somebody accidentally, but I'm going to try it. But no, there's a hay rack ride. We're going to have lunch provided. This morning early to cut to my message because it was too long, and then I started adding to it, so then I had to just stop and close my iPad. 14, 22 through 33. We're going to start in verse 22. Immediately, Jesus made the crowd, or while he dismissed the crowd, after that we have every single distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. So the backdrop for this entire story that we're studying this morning is a storm. Mark's account tells us that the wind was so strong that the disciples were having a hard time controlling the boat. So the backdrop is a storm. And that detail matters because it's setting up a teachable moment that Jesus has for his disciples, but it's also a teachable moment for us as we pay attention to the details. And it's that some storms are unavoidable. It's just true. In fact, one of the most curious details about this story for me is that the disciples are in a boat in the middle of a storm. The way that Matthew said is Jesus made them, and yet they still found themselves in the middle of a storm. Jesus knew the storm was coming. Jesus was not surprised by the storm, which tells us storms in life, they're going to come and they're going to go. Sometimes we create the storm. And the place that we find ourselves in life, it feels like a storm, and it's the direct result of unwise choices that we've made. We didn't create the storm. It's something that happened, somewhere around number 20 in the list of recorded miracles that we have in the Gospels. And yet the thought doesn't even cross their mind, we're seeing a ghost. No way this could be the one that turned the water into just his disciples. He sees them in the storm just like he sees you in your storm every single time. There's not a moment in your life where he doesn't see you. Immediately be afraid. He sees you in your storm. And he's saying those same words. Take courage. We keep reading forever because of what we're about to read. Now, if it's you, tell me to come to you on water. Come, Jesus said. So it's not found in the boat. And I love Peter's response. No matter how strong the request, tell me to come to you on the water. He remembered the moment. He was on the shores of the sea, and he was fishing in the middle of a sea. He wants to be where Jesus is, a raging sea. He's all, yes, story isn't a story about walking on water. That's super cool, yes. And again, you have to pay attention to the details. The details are important. And the waves stop. And he didn't say, promise me that everything will be okay, and then I'll get out of the boat. Is a command. Then it's good. Jesus, if it's you, then I'm in. Far too often in our obedience, yours and mine, and we could probably go back over our life and think of a number of times. Far too often, when it comes to our obedience, we want assurance. Give me a sign that it's going to be okay. If you do this, then I will. That's not how it works. Peter would have loved a blueprint for water. He would have. High-step strategy. A little bit of clarity, right, would be comforting before you're out to step into a sea in the middle of a storm. When it comes to hearing the voice of God in our lives, we always want the details. He really gives the details. He simply gives us a direction. Because there were 12 disciples in the boat. I actually think from time to time we all have areas of our life that would resemble this boat, to what God is calling you into or where he's leading you of your binge-worthy life. Here's how John Ortberg talks about the boat. Your boat is whatever represents safety and security to you. Life gets a little stormy. Is whatever keeps you so comfortable that you don't want to give it up, even if it's keeping you from joining Jesus on the waves. Out of your boat and into the curious and binge-worthy life of Jesus, the ways of Jesus. What's he been calling you to? And you know he's calling you to it. You can hear the voice. You can feel the prompting. For some of you, it's been days, some weeks. Some of you, it's been years of you knowing he's calling you to something, but you haven't said yes. That's it. Like, we can just close the message. That's it for you. It's your first yes. Maybe it's joining a team here. Maybe it's joining a one-line community, and maybe you haven't yet decided to be vulnerable enough to step into community. Maybe it's inviting a neighbor over for dinner. You know there's someone on your street, and God's been nudging you. You should invite them, but schedules are busy. Your life has yet to be interruptible enough to invite them over for a meal. Maybe it's inviting a friend to church. Maybe it's loving the single mom on your